Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining me here on another audio biography of my Just Tia series on my Tia Talk podcast. I decided to wait a little bit later. As you can see, the sun is starting to come up higher than I normally record because some of you were having an issue hearing me because I have to keep quiet. You know, what you don't see around me is the dogs that are still asleep. I've kind of kept them, don't look at me like that. I've kind of kept them calmer this morning. So the picture you're seeing behind me is actually what it looks like outside. But I have my curtains closed. I just haven't been able to record as early as I normally like to. Just a lot of things going on in my life right now. The extra dogs in my house, so it takes me a lot longer to get through the morning routine. Of course, I'm still in my infamous baggy t-shirt pajamas. That's how I spend most of my days now, because it's hard to leave the house with this many behavioral dogs in my house and trying to work with them. The computer work, everything, social media, trying to keep us afloat. But I've been holding off a couple of days extra before I started talking about this part of my life because it makes me angry. And you know, I told you all for this series that I'm doing, the Just Tia series, which is kind of like a look into my past. I may go out of order. Just trying to keep in chronological order. When you're my age, it's too hard. So I'm just probably going to jump around. But recent events have got me thinking about my father, my dad. I don't remember him at all being in the early parts of my life. I only remember one man in my life as a child, and that was my stepfather. I don't know where my mother met him, but he was very nice. His name was Thor. I had a stepdad named Thor. I mean, back then, we didn't have like the superheroes like we do today, but to have a dad named Thor, it's badass. And if you hear me, because he's still alive, I'm talking about you. But he was so nice. He was so nice. And okay, here we go. I'm remembering bits and pieces. He did work for UCLA. He ran the food service department. Like he oversaw like all the cafeterias and things like that. And I remember it was so fun going to work with him because I just could run around and eat I remember eating Jell-O. I loved the red Jell-O there. Yeah, make that note. UCLA had good red Jell-O, and it was so fun. I remember him buying me for Christmas a doll that I wanted so bad. I'm hoping I get the name right. I think her name was Baby Tenderlove. And she was squishy, like a real baby, and she had a pink outfit on and short blonde hair. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to Google that. He bought me that doll, and I remember like it wasn't from Santa Claus, it was from him. And at some point in my life, I want to say, I don't know, before I was a preteen, maybe 10 years old or so, I wanted to go and, I guess, meet my real dad, hang out with my real dad. I don't know. So my mom let me go. My brother and I, which my brother's a whole different story. He's the only full sibling that I have, only to find out that I would have half siblings and step siblings. But anyways, and she allowed us to go stay with my dad. I don't remember. I want to say he was living in Simi Valley, California at the time. But he was remarried to my stepmom, who would eventually be the woman who raised me. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Her name was Margaret, as was my biological mother. So he married two different Margarets. They lived on a mini ranch. And I was so in awe because, typical young girl, I was obsessed with horses. I collected the Breyer horse models. I know a lot of you know what those are. God, I don't know what happened to them. And they all had names, and I kept track of all their names and everything about them in a notebook. And Breyer, the company Breyer, they would have like horse shows, and you would take a picture of your horse, and oh my God. Anyways, going to my dad's little mini ranch and his new wife, they had horses. That was it. I was hooked. And eventually I would tell my mom and my stepdad that I didn't want to go back to them. I wanted to stay with the horses. And I did. My brother, not so much. He stayed with my mom and my stepdad. And eventually my mom and stepdad would divorce. But it was my love of horses and animals that kept me there. What I didn't realize is that my dad was a real scumbag. He was a real scumbag. A con artist. Didn't work a real job. My stepmom just busted her ass. And my dad he was a wannabe movie producer, director. And at the time, I didn't know what was going on. But just some things have been happening lately in my life that resurrected these feelings and these memories. And I watched my dad, set up all these, the big one, the big deal. We got the big deal coming. And he would take money and, to invest it. And the money would just go away, leaving these people in tears because their money was gone. But yet my dad always surfaced with a new sports car, very expensive suits and very expensive boots and jewelry. Again, at the time, I just thought my dad was rich. He was, he was this big movie guy. And it would eventually affect us, meaning my stepmom and I, in horrible ways. Having scary men banging on your door in the middle of the night, and you think you're being robbed. And then they show identification that they're there to repossess the expensive sports car in your garage. Of course, my dad was never around when this happened. Just really angry people showing up at our door all the time, looking for their money. In one particular case, it was an elderly man in tears, wondering where his investment money went. And he said he was homeless and now lost everything. That my dad had, asked him to be an investor and left him penniless. And I won't get into the rest of the story because it's really dark. It's really horrible. But let's just say that sweet old man didn't stay on this earth much longer, okay? The depression did him in. So these are just some feelings that I've been having lately, and just a little, dip into the icky part of my childhood. Anyways, all right, well, let's hope the day brings us more happiness, and I will see you guys on the next episode of Tia Talk with Just Tia.